Welcome to the Mindspo Podcast. I am your host today, Chris Soll, and today we are interviewing none other than famous author Rochelle Fox because she's just brought out her debut book, Magnetic. Tell us all about your wonderful baby.
Is that how we're starting?
I can do another take.
No, that was great. I feel like I'm in the hot seat.
All right.
Okay, so yeah, we are talking about Magnetic, my debut book, the book that I have. You know what? I've never had kids, but a book feels like a birth. It feels like it's been this very long process, and then now it's coming out, and it's exciting, overwhelming, thrilling, terrifying. It's all the things.
All the things. Well, I think on today's episode, we would love to know more about what your writing journey was like, what this wonderful book is all about, and what your aspirations for it are, what your challenges were.
Yeah.
So I have crowdsourced some questions from the Mindspo audience. And if you're ready, then I would love to ask you some questions.
Hit me.
Okay. So the first question comes from Carly, and it is, I would love to know the process of getting a book published and where you started.
Great question. So everyone has a very different journey when it comes to publishing a book. And I want to make the answer to this question more focused on Carly than me, because I did like a absolute roller coaster to get where I am now. And I feel like if you really want to create a book and you want to get it out there, the first thing you need to think about is, one, creating an environment around yourself where you are serving people that would want to read your work. Because it's one thing just to write a book. It's another thing to get it out there. So I would always really think about growing an audience, growing a community, building a community around something that you're passionate about, or whatever it is that you're going to write about. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of books that go out and are born into the world, but then people don't find their readers because that's not what they focused on. They just focused on the creative side of things. Sadly, I don't think it's so much of a kind of situation where you build it and they will come. I really do feel like you have to nurture that community, nurture those people, then build it for those people, and then deliver it to those people. So that's the first step that I would take. And I've been doing that for years. Ever since I started in this kind of world of entertainment, I've been sharing and being vulnerable. And then the next thing that is really required is getting a literary agent. So I didn't know anything about this when I first started, but you can't just email your book to a publisher. They don't accept books like that. You have a book proposal, you can't just email it to an editor. Look, I'm sure there are some cases where that has happened, but it's really rare. You have to get a literary agent. And literary agents are like these, what's the word? They're like this shield in front of the editors, and they're like protecting the editors from just the absolute influx of books. And they're like the filtering system. So you have to get a literary agent, and then editors talk to literary agents. And then the literary agent will then take a book proposal to an editor and have a discussion with them about it. But you have to get it to a literary agent first, get usually signed by one of these agents, and then they are the ones that facilitate the conversations with these editors. It is a pretty closed off world. This is if you want to go down like the traditional publishing route, but obviously you could also just write a book yourself and put it out on Amazon and self-publish. That is so possible. I went down the traditional route. That's something that I always wanted to do. I think because the books that I've always wanted to write and the kind of person that I am, I feel like having a traditional publisher really helps support my message, because spirituality, mind, body, spirit, I feel like having this traditional publisher behind you can really get those sorts of topics into the hands of more people and get you that distribution. So yeah, for me, I got myself a literary agent. So that was, that's the journey that people can really take. But my main thing is just start writing. If you want to write a book, start writing, start sharing, start putting your art to the world. Just build that writing muscle, and also build that muscle of being in community, serving people, listening to your readers, understanding what people are going through if you're writing personal development. A book is not like an egotistical thing you do for yourself. It is such a service to other people. It is really about thinking about the reader first. That's just so important. And that's something I really applied during my whole process. I was constantly thinking about the reader, and I had so many ego deaths during it, in the sense of I'd write something and then I'd be like, oh, this is for Rochelle. this is not helping anyone. This is me just flexing my muscles. I need to bring it back to the reader.
I suppose this also depends on whether you're writing fiction or non-fiction, right?
Of course.
If you're writing fiction, you could just be writing for yourself. In fact, that's probably what you would do, right?
Go into a fantasy land, and I would love to write a fiction book one day.
Okay. What's one thing you want the readers to really get from the book?
You're always aiming at something, even when you're aiming at nothing. You are always magnetic. I feel like we have been sold this idea that being magnetic is something you become. It's something outside of you that you have to transform into. And I want people to understand that magnetism, being magnetic, it is not only attracting, it's also repelling. We are already magnetic. It is something that is already within you. You already have the power within you. You are already creating, whether you realize it or not. The concept of magnetic is really to go into understanding how that is happening already and how you can tap into what is happening and understand it on a deeper level, and then actually start using that power and aiming it at what it is that you desire, where you want to go. That, and of course, meditation, the power of awareness. Yeah.
Love that. Great answer. If you could give only one piece of advice to your younger self, what would this be?
I feel like this changes all the time. The two things that are coming to me right now is your dreams are callings, not comfort zones, and to have more compassion for yourself on the journey. I feel like I was very uncompassionate to myself growing up, and I didn't have much compassion for myself, or I had a lot of compassion for other people, but I was really hard on myself. And I wish I had a lot more compassion for myself. And I feel like that would have helped me so much in so many different situations. Just being able to sit with myself and be kind to myself and realize that it's okay if you didn't have the best day. We all have down days. You'll get through it. You know, a day is just a day. It's not a defining moment. And yeah, that's what I wish for my younger self.
That's really beautiful. So Leland asks, what tools did you use to write the book and organize your thoughts?
So I use something called Scrivener, which is this platform that is designed for authors. It's basically a way for authors to organize their thoughts. And I also use systems like Monday or ClickUp, which is where you can put in different documents. I brainstormed everything in little cards first. I had all of these written cards everywhere that I started collecting. Then I put everything in Scrivener. And then from there, I started writing in Google Docs, and I uploaded those to like Monday and ClickUp and organized all of my thoughts. But I do just want to say here, I think it's so easy. Like when I first started writing, I got so hell-bent and just in my head about what's the perfect tool. What's the perfect organization tool? And I think this is just like a pattern that so many of us do. We want to know what camera they're using, what filter they're using, what software they're using.
They call this all gear, no idea.
I had downloaded all of the tools, but then I was still going on YouTube, watching famous authors, being like, he uses Post-it notes. So now I'm going to have Post-it notes.
I remember that one guy with the mahogany desk.
Yeah. Oh, that was an amazing video. Yes. So I would say that whatever works for you is going to work for you. It's not about what works for someone else. I think as long as you feel good about the tool that you're using. For example, I'm reshaping my relationship with Word. No, is it Word? No. What's the one that I had to write on in the end? It was Word. Microsoft Word. Yeah, Word. Me and Microsoft Word.
What, you don't like the paperclip?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I resisted with my editor putting everything into Microsoft Word to the last moment because I love Google Docs. Google Docs and me are just the best of friends. And if I had written the whole entire thing on Word, like my editor asked me to, I feel like I would have been so much more blocked because the software just makes me frustrated. So I think it's so important to find something that you work with and that you use that makes you feel good. It should make you feel calm and expansive and in control, and do the work to move through software that is frustrating you. I've done many EFT tapping sessions and deep breaths around Word. But yeah, I think it's important just to find what works for you.
Love that. What was the greatest lesson or gift when writing the book?
Oh, greatest lesson or gift. Oh, this is so corny, but it's just that I was able to do it to prove to my inner child that it was possible. I had so much negative subconscious programming and disempowering beliefs around my writing abilities, being someone that's been dyslexic and was in the slow class growing up and used to see a speech pathologist to pronunciate words properly. I was really challenged in basically all areas of writing a book. It was, I would say, like my Mount Everest. And to prove to my younger self that we were able to do it and that we were able to make something that was once a dream a reality was so rewarding. And I think it's just a testament, to be honest with you, about the book and the power of reprogramming a subconscious mind and the power of having a growth mindset and just reframing and realizing that just because things were always being a certain way doesn't mean they need to stay this way. You have the power to rewrite your code. You have the power to recreate your life. You just have to be intentional about it. And maybe it's going to take some work and it's going to take some energy and some effort. But if you stay committed and you believe in yourself and you just decide that you're going to do it, then I truly believe you can make it happen for yourself.
Very inspirational.
Soll, you interviewing me is cracking me up. Come on, you can be more of a hard ass.
All right.
Let's go.
All right, next one. Danzel asks, how would you describe God?
All right.
You asked for it.
You're looking at him.
God delivered.
I describe God as an ever-present energy of love that is around us at all times. God is everywhere. God is in everything. It is the droplets on the leaves when you wake up in the morning. It's the smell of rain. It's the feeling of warmth on your skin. It's a hug. It's just this ever-present energy that is all around us at all times. And for me, God is just an energy of love. The universe is an energy of love.
Very diplomatic.
It's like...
No, I'm just saying, you passed the test.
Great, thanks.
All right, next question. What was the most challenging part of the book to write and how did you overcome it?
Oh, the quantum chapter.
Quantum physics.
Okay. Your girl wrote a chapter on the quantum world, to which I had to dive into the world of quantum physics. And this chapter, it put me into a dark hole for about 3.5 weeks. I was angry. I was frustrated. I was confused. I was questioning my existence. I didn't know what was up or down. I wanted to try and get a degree of, I don't even know what degree I was trying to get, but I was
trying to know the unknowable.
I was trying to work out like the deepest answers to the deepest questions and then write about them. And this chapter, so much of what I wrote was actually removed because I think my editor looked at it and went, okay, she went off the reservation. I tried to explain the double slit experiment and quantum string theory. Yeah. And you know what? I don't know if I'm happy that chapter's in there. I think I'm lying if I say that. I'm scared that chapter's in there right now. Maybe because, not scared. Let me rephrase that. I feel it is a challenge for me that chapter is in there because I'm only skimming the surface and I'm still understanding this myself. And when I'm understanding it because everyone else is still trying to understand it. And there are people much smarter than me that still don't even know what this is. Yeah. And I put in that chapter because I really wanted people to understand that we really live in a world of limitless possibilities. But quite often we set our mind to these really intense limits that aren't there. And I really wanted to take people all the way out to blow the lid off so we could enter a world of expansion rather than a world of contraction. And I hope that chapter does that. And it was difficult to write. When I read it back, I think to myself, did I write that? But I'm really happy it's in there. And it was a challenging chapter to write and probably a little bit, out of my depth. But you know what? A lot of this was out of my depth. And I think that's a beautiful thing because it's pushed me to great limits.
Very good. The next question is Megan, who asks, how did you know how to start writing your book, the tone or path you want to take the reader on?
Great question. Tone was warm, friendly, relatable, understandable. I didn't want to flex. Not that I'm someone that really can flex in that sense, but I didn't want to use terminology or language that would make the reader feel
stupid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, actually, I really didn't want the reader to feel, oh, wow, that was a big collection of words and she knows a lot of really big fancy words and that all sounds really interesting, but how do I apply that to my life? It's actually funny, one of the compliments that I got from my literary agent after she read it, and I didn't take it as a compliment first, but now when I think about it, I'm so happy she said this because it shows me the manuscript actually achieved what it is that I wanted it to achieve. And she said that it felt safe. When I first read that, I was like, safe? That's all you have to say? You've just read my whole book. And she said a lot of other things that were really great as well. But I remember I fixated on that word safe. And now when I really think about that, I'm really happy it feels safe to people because I really wanted it to feel warm and calming and expansive. I also wanted it to be a little bit funny at times and quirky. Some of it could have been more quirky and funny. I feel like in the editing process, some of that humor gets taken out. Did she also say, how did I start writing?
Yeah, the tone or the path that you wanted to take the reader. Like, how did you start writing? How did you know how to start writing your book?
One thing I'll say is I didn't know how to start writing a book. I just started. This was huge for me. I think so many people wait to feel ready. They wait to have this, oh my gosh, I know everything now. I feel super confident. That's not something I've ever really experienced. I have this thing that I love to say that I heard Preston Smile say once, which is ready is not a feeling, it's a decision. And I don't think that if you are writing a book, you're necessarily ever going to feel completely ready. I think it's something that will grow over time, and it's something that just requires you to start. It requires you to take action, and you will find your thread as you go. The other thing I'd say is just continue to be a student of life. If you want to write a personal development book, writing a personal development book is going to require you to be a student. It's not about you being a teacher. Yeah, you're going to be teaching things, but in order to teach, you need to be a really good student. And that's something that I am still. Yes, I'm a teacher, but I fully first and always am a student first. That's like my path as a person. I'm curious. I want to learn things. I'm open. I'm receptive. And I think being a student will make you a hopefully good, maybe in the future, great writer.
Yeah, I think also the important thing to remember is that getting a book out, it's such an iteration cycle.
Oh, yeah.
You will have to read your own book.
Too many times.
Numerous times.
Yeah.
I think people forget that. They think that you just have to start perfect and finish perfect.
Start and be messy. You will write a first draft and it will be shite. And then you will go back and you will edit it. And then someone will go out and kill all of your darlings and cut all of the essence. Then you'll have to rewrite and restructure. It is not a romantic, I think people glamorize or romanticize the idea of writing a book. And I think that's important to be in that like energy of being a writer and enjoy it. But the actual nitty-gritty of it, it's a little bit like going to war with words.
Okay, so next question is, what were the other titles that were considered for your book?
Well, the original title was The Magnetic Mind, and that was a title that felt really, really fitting when I first started writing. But as the book progressed, it wasn't fitting anymore because this book is so much more than the mind. We realized that. And I think that that was just an example of where I didn't know the full scope of everything until you start writing, until you're in it. It's not just about the mind. This book is not just the magnetic mind. It is all about being magnetic. It's not just about your mind. It's about your thoughts, your feelings, your body, your nervous system. It's everything it's this all-encompassing thing. So those are the two titles. And I'm so happy it ended up being magnetic. I can't imagine it being called The Magnetic Mind anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It's that funny quote, right? Was it, the brain is the most important organ in the body. Signed, Brain.
I love that one.
Yeah, it's because the heart doesn't have a publicist.
Yeah.
The heart isn't talking with words.
Oh, so true.
So it gets overlooked sometimes.
One thing I'd say on that, Soll, is the thing that's so interesting is when people often name their kids when they're in the womb and they're like, this is Tommy. This is my son, Tommy. We've named him Tommy. And then the kid's born and they're like, this kid is not a Tommy.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a Matthew or this is a Rupert or this is whatever it is. I think that that's what happened with Magnetic. It was in the final hours when we were in this editing stage and all these things were being flown around and then we landed on Magnetic. My editor also liked the magnetic life. I didn't like the magnetic life.
Yeah.
For me, it was always just magnetic.
Just magnetic.
It was the magnetic mind or magnetic. And yeah.
I'm very glad you went with magnetic. I think it's perfect.
Got some more juicy ones for me?
Let's see.
Any more? What is God?
How did you find the discipline or the self-belief? I struggle with both, so I feel I self-sabotage.
I didn't find the discipline to write my book at all. I had no discipline, but I had devotion. I was just devoted to the project. I had this love and this care for this project, and it was this plant and this flower that I was nurturing all the time. There was no discipline. It was just this complete act of love. So that's the first thing. The self-belief came to me with reps. When I first started writing, the self-belief wasn't where it is now. It was definitely a process and an unfolding and a healing of my own self-belief in the writing journey. I think many people have this concept that you have to have self-belief before you start. And I think self-belief often comes from taking action, from showing yourself that it is possible for you by putting yourself out there. And that for me was how those two things developed. Some practical things I did for my self-belief during the whole entire process was EFT tapping, meditations, visualizations, and also just surrounding myself and setting up my life in a way that it was supportive of this mission that I had to write a book. I think I freaked out you a little bit, babe, with it's my book writing year. It is all about me. The book was the third person in our relationship.
It was.
How do you feel about the third person in our relationship now being other people's thing?
Great.
It's exiting our relationship.
I'm very excited for it to get out there.
So am I.
The next question comes from Vanessa, and she asks, how do you think the book will change its readers?
Ooh, I love this question. This book is going to take you on a really beautiful journey of becoming the person that you really desire to be. It's going to awaken something within you, and it's going to take the blinders off some things that maybe you weren't noticing that are going to help you tap into your power. I feel like it is going to be a injection of magic and mystery and excitement and awe. And I feel the possibilities that this book paints and opens your mind to is going to get people excited about their future and what they can do. I feel like it's going to really set a lot of people on an interesting trajectory to go deeper into some of these healing modalities, some of these tools that I speak about. And I really hope it's going to ignite people to realize that, hang on a second, I can change. I am not stuck with this programming. Wow. Maybe the reason I feel the way I feel is not because I am this person. It's because I just have a program from my parent or my sister or my cousin that I've just taken on as myself. I'm actually living someone else's program. This isn't my story. Oh, and if this isn't my story, then I can let it go. And then if I can let it go, then I can create a new program for myself and I can create a new life for myself. And when you deeply understand the subconscious mind, how it was formed, how it was shaped, how you can redesign it yourself, then it totally changes how you look at your life, because you realize that actually we all have this source code within us that is completely editable. It's not there. You're not set and it's how you are forever. No, you are an ever-changing process. You couldn't stop changing if you tried, but you have to choose to change, right? So you can just keep life going the way that it will and just allow things to happen and be like, oh yeah, this is how it always is. Or you can take the reins back and say, hang on a second, this isn't the way it is. This is a pattern. This keeps happening to me for a reason. And I'm able to change that. I'm able to adjust that. Where did that come from? And you'll be curious about your life and you'll start asking more curious questions. And hopefully you'll start being more compassionate to yourself because you'll realize that it's just a little version of you that's stuck in a program. It's not actually who you are. And that little version of you just needs help and assistance to edit the things that didn't make sense.
Ash is asking, are there any more books in you after this one?
Oh, yeah. So many.
How many more books are coming after this? You heard it here first.
I definitely have always thought that it was going to be a trilogy. I always thought that I was going to write 3 personal development books with very similar vibes. They're all going to dance together. It
is a big topic.
It's going to be a 3-person tango. So yeah, there are definitely more books in me. Look, this has awakened something within me. If I can write books and talk for the rest of my life and share meditation, oh gosh, I'll be happy as Larry. I think that is just what I would love to do with my life, just to continue to dive deep into these topics and to challenge myself and then to break it down and make it easy and digestible for people, hopefully to cut the learning curve. I think that's something I really want to do for readers, and then hopefully put it in a process for you that is simple and easy and achievable for you to get, and then you're going to be way ahead of me. And I think that I want people to get ahead of me. I want people to not make the same mistakes that I did. So yeah, I think that it's a beautiful thing, and writing is a very intimate thing with yourself, but also with your readers. And I felt a lot of connection to the energy of my readers while writing, and it was actually a really beautiful process. And I loved the writing portal. I felt more me than ever before.
Also nice to have a single focus for once.
Oh, babe, you know that. Yeah, I haven't mentioned that in this podcast, but having a single focus for one whole entire year, it was magic. It was just taking off all of the to-dos and just focusing on one thing was really rewarding for my soul and just for my attention span, and I think for the book as well.
So we have one last question from Rachel, and she asks, what did writing magnetic reveal about yourself?
So the first thing I'm going to say is that it revealed a lot of ways that I keep myself small and I keep myself stuck that I was not aware of. These were such little micro things along the way that just started to show up. And I think when you really set yourself on a mission to understand the subconscious mind and you get your head around it. And when you read this book and you read the first 3 chapters, it is all about the subconscious mind. And it is designed to take you into a deep dive of really understanding what it is, how it was programmed, how you got this way, how you can transform, how you can change. And when you really take in that knowledge and you start to apply it and think about it, it's going to illuminate so much. And that for me was really amazing because I'm not the same woman that I was when I first started writing this. I think I've had the biggest year of growth personally than ever before. And I'm continuing to realize how much I have grown. I've even had instances over the last few days where there's been some big things that I wouldn't have done normally that have been super healing for me and powerful.
Yep.
So that's the first thing I would say. The other thing I would say that it revealed about myself, which is a specific thing that I'm still challenged with, is I'm a visionary. I'm a very big vision person, but I am not a detail-oriented person. And when I was writing towards the end, I fell out of love of the writing process in the editing process. And I think that's normal for a lot of writers because it's this cutthroat time where we're cutting words and doing things. But I struggle with refining a little bit. I'm learning to reprogram and have a more empowering mindset around that. And I do believe that I'm getting better at that and I can improve that. But I also just think I'm very good at vision, and that's where my strength lies. Yeah. So it just showed me where I need to, you know what, it actually reminded me, babe, that I need to focus on building and having a growth mindset around the things that I find challenging, but also just accepting that I'm powerful visionary, and that's where my strength is. And I shouldn't get myself tied down in the minutia, and to ask for help and to get other people on board to help me with those little bits and pieces, and that it's okay to bring in support for the parts that you feel are not your most natural parts. And that for me was really powerful because a book takes a village. Especially if you're working with a publisher, you're working with an editor and a marketing team. And I had Annalise on our team who, gosh, when you read the book, at the back of the book, you'll see my acknowledgements. And I've acknowledged a whole bunch of people, but one person I just want to mention this podcast was Annalise, and she is on our team. And I really don't know how I would have written the book without Annalise in some of the parts, because she was a researcher and so good with the nitty gritty, really great at editing and refining and helping me realize where my blind spots were. And that was really, really powerful. And I think that it's really important to realize where can you be supported?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that if you're, say, at 50 out of 100 at finding spelling errors and punctuation or something, the level of effort it will require you to go from a 50 to a 90, 95. Whereas you could have put that effort into something where you were a 98 at and now you're 100. And even that small difference will actually catapult you so much further in that, and you will love it. You know, it doesn't feel like work when you're focused on something that's actually your strength. So yeah, I think people expect to get this balance thing going. And of course, you know, there's a middle ground to certain things. You know, you can't just neglect something that you're going to need to do completely. But I think doubling down on your strengths, which were given to you for a reason. You were born with them. You know, you can't do everything. So do the stuff you love, focus on it most, get the other stuff to medium somewhere. And then, like you said, get yourself some help. So while we're on the topic of your book, if you've gotten value from the Mindspo podcast before, then this would be a really wonderful way that you guys can get on board with us.
Yeah. I also just want to say is when you get the book and if you receive it and you read it, please post a story on Instagram, tag me, tag Mindspo so I can reach out to you and see how it's going. I really want to connect with my readers. And one of the best ways you can help me once you do read the book is if anyone's ordered on Amazon, cannot tell you how important Amazon reviews are. So leave a picture of the book on your coffee table. I really wanted people to feel like Magnetic was a piece of their home. Yeah. It's a hardcover copy. If you've ordered the one from the UK or Australia, it's a beautiful hardcover copy. It has beautiful gold foil. It really is a centerpiece and it's designed to be a talking point. Yes. When someone walks into your house, they see this big, beautiful blue circle and the words Magnetic, and hopefully they'll pick it up and be like, oh, what's this about? Maybe they're not a meditator. Then maybe they might read a few lines. Maybe they'll go buy it. And then maybe, just maybe, they will tap into their magnetic powers. And I hope that is going to just have a massive ripple effect in the world. And we can all start just reprogramming the things that are keeping us stuck, reparenting ourselves, and honestly just stepping into the power that's available to us.
Well, I'm very excited to see what happens when it officially comes out. I think it's going to do a lot of good. Yeah. And I foresee millions of people buying this book over the years to come.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you as well.
Thank you for interviewing me about my own book.
My pleasure.
Thank you for putting up with me during the writing process.
It's okay.
Thank you for being my cheerleader when I didn't believe in myself.
It's okay. Someone's got to do it.
Yeah.
I'm glad to do it.
I love you so much.
I love you too.
That's good.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thanks for watching.
And we'll see you in the next one. Over and out. Thank you for joining me for this episode. You can discover more from Mindspo on Instagram and TikTok by following @Mindspo and myself @Rochelle_Fox. If this episode inspired you, then please pass it on and share the love. And lastly, always remember, you create your own reality. So go and make some magic.